let's talk about our similarities of how we found our path to medical device.
What the weirdest thing? So how long had we known each other?
Which was 2019.
2019.
That was our whole paths. I literally started in 2019.
How did you hear about me? Tell everyone.
I don't think there's any other Indian medical reps.
Yeah.
And I believe someone was like, no, there's a guy named Shoma James at
Legendary.
SF. And I'm all like, I need to meet this guy because I'm all like, if there's another Indian in the medical device space
As a salesperson,
right?
what was the company?
It was DHL Express. It was my first job out of Yep. And you know, when you're just kind of like, what am I gonna do now? And then I'm running through a little career fair, and I pretty much just had a suit on with a red tie.
He, who is much younger than me, worked at DHL on the inside sales. My position was a FAS, Field Automation Specialist.
Yep.
Did you guys kind of hate us?
No, I thought it was great because it actually made my job easier. And if I could get a FAS into a facility, I knew I was going to hit quota. Say if FAS eventually was going in there to set because they're doing and processing so many shipments that they need the automation component because there's 100% head in shipping is like overwhelmed because he has to create 100 labels. Now when it's set up.
Okay, who's my clients? Adobe, IBM, Google was just coming out. Microsoft was there. I was with Airborne Express, so they had the FAS, Field Automation Specialist, and then DHL Express acquired them. But I sold tech, but I didn't get any commission because I went with an outside sales rep, and I went with them as a FAS to talk tech to simplify the shipping process. Let them have it. Death of a spine salesman, people on the road. We're in Scottsdale, Arizona. I've got my little brother, my bear, Chase Vaswani. Thank you for joining us. Did you get dressed up for me?
Of course.
No, let me take a look at you.
Yeah, I can.
Your homegrown Zon, baby. Take it out.
I got you the matching kerchief for your wedding there too. Oh, you remember that one I got you? I said I got the B.
What did you think of the wedding?
Oh my gosh, it was an absolute blast. The fact that you fit so many events in such a small time period, I've never seen so many
events. That's what I want. Outfit change. Talk about my outfit changes.
From the start, you were in your traditional, like, I can't remember what carb, but
no, you gave. What do you mean? He gave me that outfit. He gave me a lovely outfit that one of the Indian ones. We're blanking on the name, but it doesn't matter. I hope to show you guys pictures. I got it tailored. It was nice and snug as a rug, and I felt like a bug, but I looked good. What about the turban?
Everything worked out perfectly.
Yeah, and the horse, it did. Scared shitless of the horse.
100%. I was actually not scared of the horse.
Yeah, because you were a big hell.
I should have worn my boots, actually.
Shit, man. Well, someone should have worn boots because I hadn't been on a horse since I was 8 years old. Scared shitless on that horse, and they screwed up because, you know, in a barat, right? You have the dolies, and they're banging the thing, and then we had a lot of people in front of us dancing, and then this horse, who was a young horse. So let me tell you the story on the horse. This is a good part, and we'll get to our podcast, but the horse is a new horse for Indian families. The old horse that did everyone's Indian wedding died. So now I'm calling them because obviously everyone in the community is like, you got to go with this horse. It's old. It ain't going to move on you. And I'm like, cool, chill.
Right.
Then they go, oh, that horse died. And I was like, so what does that mean? And they go, well, we got a newer one. We got a younger one. And I honestly saw that horse. That was a Clydesdale. That was like a Budweiser horse, was it not?
100%. The lady kept warning me. She's like, don't stand behind the horse because it will potentially not just kick you, but knock you out.
No, and I'm like, you know, they say when you get kicked in the eye, you know the movie when they sometimes get kicked in the head and their eyes cross? That probably comes, yeah, I've got to touch the buddy. I remember that. You got to touch the bud, but nonetheless, it was a powerful horse. And then the dolly start playing and the drums and everyone's dancing and music. And that horse wasn't blindfolded and it was unsettled. And I was shitting my pants.
You looked good. And, you know, while you were feeling all of that emotion inside, You didn't let it come out of the exterior. It looks solid.
It looks solid.
You look like Eric. You were just missing the big leaf
Get
score.
radio and we'll see. We'll let the audience decide how I felt. So let's get into the topic because we have a lot to talk about. Let's talk about our similarities of how we found our path to medical device.
What the weirdest thing? So how long have we known each other?
So probably since I've started in the industry, which was 2019.
2019.
That was our whole paths. I literally started in 2019.
How did you hear about me? Tell everyone.
Well, initially I was like, I don't think there's any other Indian medical reps.
Yeah.
And I believe someone was like, no, there's a guy named Shoma James at
Legend.
SF. And I'm all like, I need to meet this guy because I'm all like, if there's another Indian in the medical device space
As a
salesperson,
right. Instead, we freaking fell in love. Yeah, as you're my little brother, and like I call you my protege. But interesting things are, if you look at our CVs, we both worked at the same company together as our SCART. What was the company?
it was DHL Express. It was my first job out of
Yeah.
Yep. And when you're just kind of like, what am I gonna do now? And then I'm running through a little career fair, and I pretty much just had a suit on with a red tie.
Always wearing suits.
Yeah,
Yes, that's how you do it. That's game recognized game. I love suits.
hence my hey dude. And I love the fact that you actually sewed that on. And is that like a 3-0 monocle that you use to put that on there?
Yes, actually, no. I mean, look, this is actually stapled on.
But fair enough.
I can never tie. I tried to
do that for you.
Well, thank you. I know you said 3-0 monocle. He's making a suture. Thank you for saying that. He must be a medical device.
Right.
But
Nonetheless,
it started at
DHL Express.
transportation logistic. You were on the sales side. You were inside.
Yep.
My first job out of San Diego State, and we're a difference. How old are you?
I'm 33.
I am 45. Age is but a number
Yes, 100%.
because I'm vibrant.
I've never seen someone with so you triple the energy level of the majority of 25-year-olds.
Yes.
Let alone so many.
They can't hang with me.
Yeah, no.
Don't ever freaking forget that.
You're up at 30 in the morning, like
Well,
post drink the clock.
I'm out yawning. I'm out jogging.
Is that a rat scaring all his neighbors?
Look, I live in a very, the community I live in is gated, but yeah, first world problems. But look,
Very nice.
it's gated, and I am the youngest one there. And when I'm talking to different countries, like I'm screaming because I think I have hearing problems. I think all these things that we wear in our ear, I can't really hear myself. They're like, show me, stop screaming. And I'm like, I'm just talking.
Actually, that makes sense.
That does make sense.
Now that makes so much more sense.
If so, I am young.
I know a good.
I eat their names. Tell them to give me an appointment before I leave in Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona. So back to the DHL thing. Yes, people. He, who is much younger than me, worked at DHL on the inside sales. My position was a FAS, Field Automation Specialist. Yep. Did you guys kind of hate us?
No, I thought it was great because it actually made my job easier. And if I could get a FAS into a facility, I knew I was going to hit quota. If FAS eventually was going in there to set because they're doing and processing so many shipments that they need the automation component because there's 100% head in shipping is like overwhelmed because he has to create 100 labels. Now when it's set up,
My God, you are me. So my whole thing on the fast side, because I wanted to get on the sales side, but in the outside realm, was as a field automation specialist in Silicon Valley, I was going to sell the tech. Right? Computer science minor. And I was like, okay, who's my clients? Adobe, IBM, Google was just coming out. Microsoft was there. Some big companies like on the semiconductor side, National Semiconductors, which just got acquired by Texas Instruments back then. So all these big manufacturers that were shipping overseas, and I was with Airborne Express. So they had the FAS, field automation specialist, and then DHL Express acquired them. But I sold tech, but I didn't get any commission because I went with an outside sales rep. And I went with them as a FAS to talk tech to simplify the shipping process. Show them it, let them have it. And I was like, well, mother effer, I don't get it. Why you love it? I didn't get any permission off of. I could send I got suited and booted for all these meetings, but I tell you what, my business acumen was through the roof. I presented at a high level. There's this one story I talk about. So Fry's Electronics, do you guys have that down there? Remember Fry? It was I know. So back in the day, they were vibrant, right? And we were rolling out this new integration between Airborne Express and DHL. And all the Fries were switching from UPS to DHL, but we had multiple platforms. We had the Easy Ship, and then we had the Airborne Express. Obviously, Airborne Express was domestic, and DHL was international. So I'm on a conference call, and I'm 23. I'm on a conference call with the entire Fry's team, their IT department, their sales, their customer service, and John Fry was on it. And we're talking about timelines. And then my boss, who didn't tell me at the time, segued into me. And they're like, Showman, when can you have all their computer systems? And I'm pretty sure I was like eating an Egg McMuffin, going like, I don't know what a conference call is like. And then they led to me, and I was like, well, we're gonna do. I had an out of body experience, like one of those.
Right.
Had no idea what I said, and then gave a date, and it was way outside their timeline. And John Fry got on the call and said, "No, we will have this thing done by that date." And I go, "Shit, I'm fired." with the egg in my mouth. Come on. But that set me up for what we want to talk about, and that's medical device sales.
Yes.
But you had a different path, and that's why I'm bringing you on this, because you know me. I went from Medtronic to Globus to Stryker. Hala was one of the best, still one of the best. Not to be overly confident. It's like, come on.
Hey, you got an amazing CV. That's why I call you as a resource.
Hey, you call me any day and night, 365, 7 days a week. There's a reason why you're my little brother. So, let's talk through your path, please, for the audience.
Sure. So again, started in 2019, with a small distributor out here. 6 months into my career, and this is after I left DHL.
Yeah.
So after I left,
Did you want to get into medical device? Where did you hear it?
you know what? I had the opportunity to work for ZB out of Undergrad.
Oh, shit.
Okay. So when that opportunity presented itself,
Orthopedic.
this is orthopedics.
Yeah. That would have been a winner.
It would have been, but because my background and my degree was in supply chain,
Yeah.
it made sense to go with something that was linear. So I was like, okay, my background is supply chain sustainability. Go work for a company that's supply chain sustainability. So
Sure.
Shell was kind of
No, that makes sense.
what seemed like the right fit at the time. And at first it was amazing. It was great the way they had their, just the whole sales force set up. And from a top-down management perspective, it was a very, very well-run organization. And I could honestly say if the people that were in charge when I first started were still there, I'd probably still be working for DHL.
Well, look, this was this was like a headquarters, like a U.S. headquarters. It was a beautiful facility, and I don't think you would be working there because that company kind of crumbled. Like, do you see many DHL bands like they used to? They were an example of scaling too fast. DHL, a German-based company owned by Deutsche Post, right? Deutsche Post started their U.S. expansion, went directly after UPS and FedEx, and they failed. And anyways, so you wouldn't be there. So you were headed for medical device.
Right. The funny thing was after I left DHL during undergrad, I worked all through the Old Town nightlife scene.
What was that like? This is a what place outside these good.
Deviate a little bit here, but it was absolutely insane. At that time, Hi-Fi had just opened, and it's still open to this day. And I started off there as a busboy, essentially a runner. So when you order bottles at a table, the guy that brings
You're that dude.
the carafes of cranberry juice.
The ones the girls coming out with the brownie, you're this guy, and everyone's bossing you. Get the ugly guy out of here.
Yep.
Your uniforms, me.
So I remember at the end of the night making like $100 in cash tips.
Yeah.
And in 2013, that was like, are you kidding me? I just left working G-Bag, making $7.87 an hour. Like, hey, do you guys want? We got buy one get one T-shirts today, guys. I'm a Hindu wearing a rosary. You know, I brought like I just got a Jersey Shore was super popular all the time, right? So
It must still be. It looks very poly.
it should. No, I need it, but thank you for your barber today.
We both got the same hair. Shout out Jason. He is Indian Drake, y'all.
Indian Drake. Fine Line Barber Studio right around the corner.
You better give me some money for that, dude. You got plugged on this, but
But nonetheless, when I left DHL, having that experience working in the bar nightlife industry, I just said, I'm going to take a little bit of time from staring at a computer and I'm just going to just pour some drinks. So I ended up going to work over at the Mission in Scottsdale here and did that for about 8 months. And then eventually, working in a bar, I had the first working in a bar is pretty much the real flipping.
I always said myself, when I interview a lot of people, I love the service industry, right? And my last podcast with Davey and Jonathan Pereira was all about service in the med tech space, especially as a spine rep. So service is very important. And bartenders, servers are some of the most attentive service people on the planet, if they're good.
Sure.
So, but if you're running a bar, and you just do it to F with, bar life, meaning you enjoy it.
Yeah.
That one time we had a spine art thing and I came in with some surgeons and you were behind the bar and I'm like, this is wild. You got like 20 people at your bar. You're making drinks. You're talking to this. You got me in. I was like, how is he handling it? So it sets you up to be a good device rep.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, would you ever think about that?
I mean, you just kind of translate everything you know into whatever. I just take everything and I'm like, how do I adapt and apply this to what I'm doing now?
Yeah.
So,
Hell yeah.
and yeah, exactly. Yeah. And in that same essence, when you're in the OR, you're just trying to make things as efficient as possible for the surgeon you're working with at the time. So,
No, that's beautiful because look, I came through excellent training grounds with Medtronic, then, was part of a $10 million super territory, and then learned so much, saw everything, ran the gamut of occiput down to the ilium, deformity, MIS, laterals were coming big. We didn't stand a chance against Nuvasive, but MIS, T-lifts, all this stuff. I was an pediatric and adolescent deformity, like all the real crazy stuff, but I really didn't hone in on my sales skills. And you got to understand that I've been talking about on the podcast. I had a startup company at 25 years old, and we'll talk about that. And like, as a Silicon Valley boy, as an Indian boy, right? Like, I had a different type of swag.
sure.
I didn't look like everyone else, but I freaking love sales. My dad's an electrical engineer, but I wanted to freaking outsell everyone because it encompasses everything that you do in business. If you can't move shit, you are F.
See you later.
Yes, and I talk about this, all the time to engineers and manufacturers because Steve Jobs said it best. Start with the customer experience and with the technology. I don't care how cool your tech is and how creative you are and all that stuff, but if you don't have anyone selling it, then what is up with that? You are dead in the water. Am I right, Brandon Sherwood? Thank you. Thumbs up for B. Sherwood. Thanks for coming. So look, we know that it is important to sell, and you learn so much. That's why selling technically at, even though I wasn't selling, I was selling at DHL. So what makes you great and how you build relationships, that's innate with you. I noticed that when you were bartending, you make friends with everyone. Hence, you picked me up in that. Well, you didn't pick me up, but you sent Kenneth.
Yeah.
Another thing is you're extremely thoughtful.
Thank you.
You're making this a wonderful business trip. Now I'm spoiled and I expect it every time, and you better keep on making it grow and grow.
You 100%. I covered the cost the one time. Then I covered
Your tremendous amount of money in this.
Then, I'll still see you guys are in the facility. Still send you the expense.
I'm here in Arizona, right? I do a lot of work here. I'm going to beef up my cadence on coming in here, and we're going to do stuff together. We have so much. I mean, let's talk about it. Yeah, I mean, get ready, dude. Met one.
Yes.
Area director.
The area sales director.
Area sales director. Talk to me about that. Let's holla at him. Who's your CEO?
Yvonne Carbonell.
Okay, don't know it, but
The only Latin-owned manufacturer of orthopedic spine implants
40 into it.
country.
So,
yeah.
orthopedic spine, but you guys have other extremities.
We do. So we are actually getting into the upper extremity space. The CEO of my company actually worked for Stryker, which when he first started in orthopedics, and maintained some relationships to where we're actually building out our own distal radius plating system. So
Okay.
we have
Where's the distal radius?
pretty much right.
See, I don't even know. If it ain't the spine, I don't know where it is, and shame on me. But another thing that's awesome about you,
Diversify.
if I have to hear diversify, I come from the Bay.
Oh gosh.
You know what I mean, but anyways,
Yep. But yeah. So
So I started with them after I left the distribution point. Again, went to the bar industry for a little bit, then had an opportunity to work in not just upper extremities, but foot and ankle, and actually just made some amazing relationships. And I would say a lot of the guys that I met while I spent the time in that field are some of my best friends till this day.
that's the way you say it, like your best friends, like you're talking about customers and people within your
Right.